Sometimes you have to evaluate things and make changes. This video does just that. Stick around to find out about the changes and take a moment to give me a like. To begin with, the Elmer Tom Channel is dead and buried. Gone. In its place is the ND3N Ham Shack Chat channel. It's a mouthful, but you'll get used to it. Now, Elmer Tom hesitated to talk about himself. Tom, ND3N, has been a ham for 35 years, is a ham class instructor, is a volunteer examiner, a mentor to new hams, served in club leadership, including being president of 3 different clubs, has several different advanced degrees, and has a lot of stories to tell, and I'm going to tell them. Elmer Tom was an instructional series. Ham Shack Chat will be more conversational, but if you learned something you didn't know before, I'll take it as a bonus. This particular video will focus on my shack, what gear I have now and what I've used in the past. From this, you'll see how I progressed in my ham capabilities and hopefully be able to avoid some of the mistakes I made along the journey. Elmer Tom had a schedule and I had to rush many of the videos. I really was disappointed in a lot of them. Ham Shack Chat will not have a schedule, but I'll do my best to have at least one a week. I'd rather have quality over quantity and will not rush out a video just to meet a date on the calendar. Yes, Elmer Tom is no more, but those videos are still available. Look them up. I hope you enjoy the Ham Shack Chat and will subscribe and ring the notifications bell. My history with radio goes back to just after I graduated high school and joined the Army, where I was trained as a strategic microwave systems repairman. Sounds really impressive, but all it meant is I got to play with radios and fix them and monitor them and do stuff like that. I spent a bit over 5.5 years in Germany maintaining Bavarian microwave radio stations. Now these were the backbone of communications for the armed forces in Southern Europe. After getting out of the Army, I went to work for a bunch of different companies. Every one of them was communication oriented and a lot of them were radio focused. Now one of the companies, I had a long commute to work. It was about 80 miles to get to work and it took me a good hour and a half. So I would pass the time on CB radio visiting with truckers and other CBers. My manager at that company was a ham and he introduced me to the hobby. I studied for the test and practiced Morse code until I could pass both the written and 5-word per minute code test to get my novice ticket. Now, I was gifted a mobile rig and a mobile antenna. I bought a 2-meter HT that was a heavy brick by today's standards, and I purchased an old tube and crystal radio. I'll talk more about it later. And I jerry-rigged a 40-meter dipole on my roof. It was a 2x4 attached to the end of my roof at the apex, and I just split the ends of the coax, soldered some wire onto them, gave it a little strain relief, and ran it down to my fence line. But I was able to practice my code on my old radio, and I was able to improve it for the general and extra test. Now it took me about 2 years, but I finally got my extra class ticket. I had saved my money, sold the Collins for more than I bought it for, and received a small insurance payment after the death of my father. And I went out and bought my first modern rig. I also picked up some better antennas that they were previously owned, but they were new to me. Until then, or from then until now, I've had my ups and downs, but always tried to have the best shack I could afford, the best antennas for my living situation, and worked to gain experience and improve my operating skills. I've had to compromise and occasionally sacrifice, but I stayed on the air. This brings me to the shack I have now.
The computer that I use is an HP all-in-one with a 27-inch screen. I really wish I had opted for one with more RAM and perhaps a video card, but this is what I have and what I do most of my ham stuff on and all of the post-processing for the videos on YouTube. For ham radio, I use 3 programs: WriteLog, WSJT-X, and Ham Radio Deluxe or HRD. This is WriteLog, one of the premier contest software packages. Now, it is a paid-for package. It'll cost you about $35 a year, but I find it really worth it. There are some free ones out there, and amongst the free ones, I recommend N1MM. Links for both WriteLog and N1MM are in the video description. I will be putting out some videos on how to set up WriteLog for RIDI and CW contests in the near future. This is the WSJT-X program. It's my being lazy in the Radio Shack program, and I use it mostly for FT8, but I've done JT65, FT4, and Whisper. I will also be doing videos on how to set it up and how to make contact on FT8 with it, and how to use it for FT8 and FT4 contesting, again in the near future. This is Digital Master 780, which is just one of the programs in the bundle known as HRD. Just about every digital mode that's out there is available here, but I use it mostly for Rag-Chew CW, RIDI, and PSK. And this is the logbook program. I can import the logs from WriteLog and WSJT-X or pretty much any other file that produces an ADIF file, then upload directly to the logbook of the world. You can expect videos on how to do all of this along with how to get on Logbook of the World. You guessed it, in the near future. If this is the kind of content you're looking for, please subscribe and ring the notification bell so you won't miss any of those videos when I post them. While you're at it, down there underneath the screen there, go ahead and give me a like by clicking on that thumbs up button.
This is my big HF antenna. Well, it's my Gap Challenger DX. What makes it a Gap is this phenolic section in the middle. So this is not a normal vertical antenna. Instead, it's a vertically polarized dipole antenna, as are all the antennas in the Gap lineup. The attachments outside the main part of the antenna are capacitive loads that cause the antenna to radiate in the 80, 40, 20, 15, 12, 10, 6, and 2 meter bands. The antenna will work without ground radials, but if you want to add radials, using only 3 is recommended. Gaps have a very low angle of radiation, which gives you a better reach. Not as good as the horizontally polarized Yagi, but much better than most vertically polarized antennas. Gap also produces a number of other antennas that use the same technology, from monobands to other multi-band antennas. They also have fantastic customer service, and they are more than happy to answer all your questions about ordering your antenna, what accessories you should get with your antenna, putting your antenna together once you receive it, or any problems you're having. A link to the Gap webpage is included in the description. Now, even though the Gap is resonant on 2 meters, I have other antennas for that. So let's take a look at them. This is my Diamond X200A. It's a dual band 2-meter and 70-centimeter antenna. Right now it is ground mounted, but I plan on moving it to my roof within the month. There is a link to diamond antennas in the video description. There's also a link to Amazon if you wish to buy one. Now, as part of the Amazon Affiliates program, I get a small commission from Amazon if you purchase using the link in the description. Nothing is added to your price. I also donate 10% of everything I make from Amazon to the Wounded Warrior Project. As always, I encourage you to shop around for the best price. This is my mobile antenna. It's a Comet SBB5 with a Comet RS020 mount. This is the antenna setup I used to use while doing my motorcycle mobile. I picked it because the SBB5 is ground independent, and I figured it would work just as well on my cars as it did on my bike. And so far it has. I've linked the Comet antennas in the video description, and there's an Amazon link to the antenna if you'd like to buy one. I couldn't find the mount on Amazon, but it is available at DX Engineering. Now let's move on to my collection of radios, starting with the smallest ones, my HTs. This is my ICOM ID51. It's a dual band FM and D-Star rig. Now it's no longer available. It's out of production. It's pretty much off the shelves at the stores. You can still get them on the aftermarket, but it has been replaced by the ID52. There's a link to the ICOM website in the description. This is my Kenwood THD74 HT. It's a tri-band with APRS and D-Star included. My next HT will be the Yaesu FT3DR, which is a dual band FM and C4 FM rig. My first time with C4 FM. I plan on trying to put it on my motorcycle and see how that works. When I get it, I'll be doing an unboxing and initial report video. I'll do a more in-depth review once I've used it for a few months. I've included a link to the Yaesu website below, along with an Amazon link if you'd like to purchase that new Yaesu. Just a reminder, I get a small commission from Amazon if you purchase using the link in the description. Nothing is added to your price, and I also donate 10% of everything I make from Amazon to the Wounded Warrior Project. As always, I encourage you to shop around for your best price. I've had a lot of HTs. My first one was an ICOM IC02AT. It was a 2-meter only, FM only rig. It was big and clunky. I thought it was fantastic when I had it, but now with these smaller radios that are designed to fit in your hands, oh, now it did get me on the air working my local repeaters. Radio Shack went through a phase where they were trying to promote a line of ham gear of their own, and that rig, the IC02AT, was their HT. They just rebranded it. I recall a spirited discussion on the local repeater on which rig was best, neither person realizing that beneath the label they were the same rig. Now let's take a look at my mobile rigs. I'm using a Kenwood TMD 710G as a base station. This is the control head. I've got the main part of the radio tucked away. I've owned several of these, never had a problem until I got this one. The programming port doesn't work, so I have to manually enter all the frequencies. The scan functions don't work. No matter what mode I put it in for scanning, it'll run for a couple minutes and then just shut off. It's very frustrating. I like to sit at my station here. This is also my telework location, but yeah, I like to have it scanning through the different repeaters, and if I hear somebody of interest, I'll take a break from work or take a break from operating and visit with them for a bit. But I have to go back there every couple minutes and restart the scan even though it shouldn't have stopped. It's frustrating. I've noticed a couple other things that just seem a bit off. I'll be sending it to Kenwood Repair as it's still under warranty, but I want to have something to take its place, which is why I'm saving up for an FT991A. I wanted a second HF rig, and I figured if I could get one with all mode 2 meter and 440 in there, bonus. Very similar to my old TS2000, but a more modern version. The D710 is a dual band FM rig with APRS and D-Star capabilities. I currently have it connected to my weather station, but to be honest, I'm still figuring out how all that works. Once I figure it out, I'll be doing a video on how to set it up so the rest of you can ride along. This is my mobile rig. It's an ICOM ID5100. It's a dual band FM and D-Star rig. This is the control head. The main radio is out of the way under the passenger seat. One thing that irritates me about both the Kenwood in the shack and this one in the mobile is that the mic connects to the main body of the radio, which I have in both cases stashed kind of out of the way. It would have been better if the mic attached to the control head. Well, maybe that's something Kenwood or ICOM or maybe Yaesu can consider in the future. And finally, the big guns. This is my Kenwood TS890. And before I get far, yes, there's a Amazon link in the description if you'd like to buy one and help support the Wounded Warrior projects and this channel. This is a software-defined radio, or SDR. It's an all-mode, all-HF band plus 6 meters. It has an internal keyer, internal sound card, and internal impedance matching system. Many hams call that an antenna tuner. I have a problem with the term antenna tuner because the only way you tune your antenna is to go outside and turn a wrench and shorten and lengthen stuff. That's not what a built-in antenna tuner does. It isn't what a manual antenna tuner does, but you know what? I'm going to stop my rant right there. I'll put out a video on it someday. It has 2 serial ports for control and a touchscreen. It's got too many bells and whistles to list them all. I have owned many HF rigs over the years. Some I've bought, then sold and traded for something different. A few I've just moved on from. My first rig was a Collins KWM2A. It's a tube-run radio that used a set of crystals and a local oscillator to get you on your frequency. Now my first modern rig, that means no tubes, nothing like that, was a Kenwood TS440S, which I sold and bought a Kenwood TS2000 shortly after they had come out. And that rig was probably one of the best I've ever owned. I ended up buying 3 of them. I kept trading or selling them only to go back. Now I had a Kenwood TS480 that I built into a Go box. Meanwhile, in my shack, I added an ICOM IC7200 in addition to the TS2000. Now I sold the 7200 to a friend who had it painted in a desert camo scheme, and it looks really beautiful. Now, I replaced that whole system with a Kenwood TS590, then upgraded it to a TS590SG before I had to sell my entire shack and move halfway across the country for a new job. That's where I built my current little corner shack. I hope that you picked up what I've been trying to get across. Maybe I didn't explain it so well, but if you didn't hear me then, hear me now. What I'm trying to get across is that no matter what your situation is, do whatever you need to stay on the air. Stay involved with ham radio. If you're just starting out, get an older rig and string up a dipole. Get some friends from your club or neighbors to help you do it. If you live under strict HOA requirements, figure out how to hide your antenna. Here's a hint: look up flagpole antennas or string a dipole up in your attic. You can even put a beam. You won't be able to turn it, but you can put a beam up there in your attic. Certainly you can put just about any UHF VHF antenna up there. HF gets a little bit more difficult, but it's not undoable. Now, if you've been hamming for a while, don't give it up if your circumstances change. Remember, things always turn around. My history with ham radio isn't yours. Your history is what you make it. I've mentioned a few ideas that I have for future videos. If you have an idea that you'd like to see, or if you have a question about some ham radio topic, please leave a comment. I plan on most of my videos to be between 10 and 15 minutes long. A little shorter. If it gets too long, I'll cut it into a couple different topics. Now, please give me a like, subscribe so you can have quick access to all of my videos, including the old Elmer Tom ones. Ring the notification bell so you'll know when I post something new. And please, share this with your friends and family who may enjoy the content. 7-3 for now. ND3N out.